start of 2017, Gartner predicted that there'd be 310 million wearable devices this year. And this is about a $9.3 billion market. They also made another interesting prediction about where the wearables market would go over time. In 2021, they predicted that 30% of the wearables market would be purchased for or by children. And we know kids. I've got a number of kids in my life. I'm so dedicated to generational study that I have a 21-year-old, a 19-year-old, and a 3-year-old, so that I could cover millennials and Gen Z. And so we know that sports is a big thing, despite the digitization of youth. Sports is still in the top 10 of things that that young people like to do. And unlike adults, children would rather play sports than watch sports. So that's by a factor of about 2 to 1. So definitely would say that from the perspective of kids and youth and sports, there's a lot of opportunity here moving forward. And I'd like to introduce you to 2 people who are kind of leading the charge when it comes to creating compelling applications of wearable technology within the youth and the youth sports industry. Starting with Wesley. Wesley is a professional basketball coach and player development trainer. Coached and trained players on every level throughout his career, including the NBA. Currently working with over 600 players on a yearly basis and based out of Charleston, North Carolina. During his coaching experience, his job was to identify and correct player weaknesses through training sessions, statistical analysis, and mental conditioning. And he's successful in doing this by conducting position-specific sessions to evaluate each player's skill sets, attitude, and work ethics. During his time in the NBA, Coach Horne witnessed 2 players lose their contracts due to guide hand interference during their shot, and from that experience, the ShotDoctor was created. Also, we're joined today by Krissa. Krissa's co-founder and CEO of Dynepic. Sure. Of Dynepic. Yep. Where their patented IO-Kids platform enables brands to easily activate connected products and apps for kids where strict privacy regulations apply. Krissa holds engineering degrees from the USAF Academy and MIT and has been recognized as a global entrepreneur and innovator by President Obama. Krissa spent her early career in the aerospace industry, launching, operating, and designing cutting-edge space systems for the Department of Defense, NASA, and commercial space ventures. So talk about STEM and genius. We've got them here in one package. And Krissa is now working to inspire the next generation of innovators and athletes, and in particular kids. And the IO-Kids platform is backed by military-grade security and partners like IBM, Chirp, and ESRB. The first wearable experience powered through Dynepic's cutting-edge kid-safe platform is ShotDoctor. So there's an association here between these two. The basketball wearable allows kids to perfect their basketball shot, compete with friends, and share their training data with coaches. It is play connected. So, Wesley, can you help us understand how you came up with the idea for ShotDoctor?
Yes. Dan mentioned about the guys that lost contracts in the NBA, and moving to Charleston, I worked with tons of athletes, the kids from 2nd grade through pro athletes, and documented a lot of movement for what caused that problem after it was identified. And created cast, all sorts of things that just were hindering the athlete and actually causing more problems with them. So meeting Krissa, getting the ShotDoctor off the map and created through tons of trial and error. We got the tool from a dyno, and what was it?
Well, I'll go through it. I got it up here.
We're gonna go through it, and we're gonna show some slides. But the guy, I don't know, how many basketball fans do we have out here, by the way? Anybody's kids play basketball? So when a player shoots, I'm right hand dominant. I shoot with my right hand. My guide hand is to guide the ball out on its way up, toward the target. The players in the NBA, those guys were accelerating with their guide thumb. So as they shot, they accelerated, creating side spin on the ball. Their trajectory was off. And identifying where the problem began was with kids, that I work with 2nd and 3rd grade, and they're shooting at a target too high, too far away, or a ball too heavy. And so the technology of the ShotDoctor is eliminating the issue by creating pure form in the players by giving haptic feedback based on how they use their guide hand and how they use the rhythm of their body. And so just to kind of give you a
maybe we'll just go into this video.
Yeah, just go into the video.
You guys want to cue this video just so you guys can get a good overview of what...
And there's some young kids here, 10th graders. This player accelerates his guide thumb through the ball and quickly snaps his hand back to show a pure form. The ShotDoctor is designed to eliminate that problem with hours of use at a form shooting range. Here we have a player at a form shooting range. Notice how his guide hand stays flat with all 5 fingers showing from the side. From this angle, you can see an advanced shooter follow through without the guide thumb or hand turning, assisting with the shot. So, any questions on that?
Looks great.
Nothing? Okay. But did you notice how the guide hand with the players at the end when I paused it and froze in the freeze frame where it was showing the follow through? That's the follow through of a shooter. And go ahead, Krissa.
Maybe I'll step in. So Wesley came to me about 3 years ago. This was before the Apple Watch came out, and he came to me and he's like, Krissa, I've invented a cast. And this cast, right? Like this was a wearable, right? This is a wearable that he said was using the NBA. You said that real NBA players were using this?
So when those guys had the issue, Joakim Noah was, I don't know if you know who that is, 7'1" guy for the Chicago Bulls at the time, and he was just accelerating. It was bad double-wristed, and they had an actual piece of board. I don't know if it was a 2x4 or what they were using. This is the Chicago Bulls. And they were using it for the guy's arm, which was obviously not going to work. You couldn't play with it or practice with it. So I came to Krissa with this. And go ahead.
Anyway, so we were working, this was a while back, we were actually funded under National Science Foundation. We were working on our own wearable, again, before Apple Watch. And we found that when he came to me, I was like, well, why aren't you guys using sensors, right? The MEMS sensors that are in these wearables are now at the cost level where you could just put a sensor on the arm, and now for all these different sports, basketball in his case, you could use these to solve this problem and provide the player the feedback they need to then take the guesswork out of training.
Yep, great.
But you'll see that we're on the Apple Watch platform because this is actually Fitbit today. You cannot launch a kid's application on most open wearable platforms, right? These wearables that are on the market today are not actually for kids. So if you want to make a kid's application or an all ages application, this really does come as a barrier or a hurdle in this kids and family industry.
So you created the IO Kids platform. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we did is we were working on the wearable, as I said. We came up to this same challenge. We wanted it to connect with kids and family, but then we found out about this little law called COPPA, and actually going to forward right through this. And what we found was that you have to get verifiable consent from the parents, and that's really hard, right? I don't know how many of you guys have probably had to look at COPPA laws. The other thing you have to do if you're making a kid's wearable is you have to make sure that any of the services that you connect to, that they're following all the Child Online Privacy Protection Act regulations. It was just published a couple days ago that VTech was fined $650,000 for the hack and not following the Child Online Privacy Protection Act. So if you're designing a wearable in the kids space, these privacy regulations definitely have to be followed. And so we just said, somebody has to have already invented this platform that we can just connect up to it. Wesley was actually using a Pebble watch that we hard coded, and he's selling them for $150 out of his back of his car. Yeah.
Whatever gets the job done, right? We had, but the thing with it is, and through this technology, and the Pebble was smart, but the Apple platform and the brains in it and the guts, the technology is just overwhelming, right? But it is a solution for a problem. I was speaking with Eric Winston, the NFL president of the NFL Players Association, yesterday about all the data they're collecting with the sports.
They're talking about who owns the athlete's data and what.
Right. Who owns it? And it's great. It's all good data, but it's not. It's like, what do we do with it? Where's it going? How does it help? And so that's. He said we need billions and billions of dollars to actually get somewhere where we're actually doing something with this data. And what we've got now is a solution to a problem, and it's a problem with all players. It's an ambidextrous tool which helps those players. As a player development coach, it would take me weeks, months even, depending on how well the athlete absorbed the information being coached. And, with the haptic feedback from the ShotDoctor app, from that technology, it's doing something in a few hours that took forever to do, sometimes even years to accomplish. So, it's revolutionary and remarkable what this technology is doing and where it's going with children. And that's the biggest part of it, because those guys that lost contracts never would have had the issue had they have been corrected. And I got parents all over, that are working to help their children. They're coaching middle school teams, elementary teams, junior high teams, and they're doing the very best job that they can, but they have full-time jobs as well. And so for them to help these kids on and off the court, at home and all that, it's a difficult situation, especially with a couple of kids, but they're doing the best they can. This kid can actually get out, compete, share, play, learn how to do things the right way with a coach on their wrist, and that's really what it is. It gives that feedback and that instant gratification for the players.
That's great. And it seems like the youth sports industry, there's a lot of different stakeholders. There's the parents, there's the kids, there's the coaches. Tell us a little bit about what we should know about the youth sports industry and putting a wearable into that industry and marketplace.
I think it's huge because, again, it's a coach on the kid's wrist. And listen, I have some advanced players, early, young adolescent kids, and even elementary, and they have athletic parents that can sometimes teach them. Then again, I have kids that have never picked a ball up. And maybe they're bashful, maybe they're not, they don't have the confidence to go to a park and play because maybe they're not as athletic as the kids out there. They've never learned how to shoot or dribble. But once they learn to shoot, which by the way is the most important thing in basketball, if you can't shoot, look at the Golden State Warriors and the emphasis that's being placed on shooting today. Everybody in the NBA, everybody in the NCAA is chasing shooters. Marc Gasol for the Memphis Grizzlies shot 3 3-pointers the 2015-16 season, and he shot 268 3-pointers the 2016-2017 season. So in just a year's time, he's a 7-footer. That's the emphasis being placed on it, stretching the floor, creating lanes for players. When kids can shoot, they're calling me coach. Come on out here to the park. They'll tell me at practice, check me out, coach. I got downs, and these kids are picking me on teams and stuff. And that's the most gratifying part because this kid would never pick a ball up. He would never go to the park. Now he's playing. Now he's competing. He's gaining a ton of friends, by the way. The social aspect of it and just, for confidence building is huge for these kids in their lives, whatever they choose to do.
There's other challenges, though, as you bring together coaches and parents. And that's actually that if you're going to bring a coach together with kids into a platform with connected wearables, how do you handle all ages on that platform, right? And that's what we really looked at is he had the Pebble, we had to hard code it so it wasn't actually connected to the phone. If the kids connected the Pebble Watch to a phone, it would basically delete everything. That was our way around this. When Apple launched and we actually could have a platform that a kid's app could come on, I actually believe that this Apple Watch is going to be just like the tablets. So tablets, right, came out in 2010, first tablet, and then they became hand-me-down devices, and then they boomed in the kids industry. The wearables, right, Apple Watch came out 2014, and I believe that you'll start seeing this to be a hand-me-down device. And, if you're in the kids industry, definitely look at how you can start making applications in this wearable spot. But you got to, as you connect in with the coaches, you got to think about the privacy regulations. So that's where as he was out doing all that work, we were building the platform that would help activate his connected product. So you'll see here actually just a quick view. It allows the parent to create their profile, be brought in with the top level consent. And
to Krissa's point too, there's NBA guys and Hall of Famers that are actually wanting to get on board to help children. So right now with all the kids that I train in Charleston, I can't reach everyone. I can't reach people in China. I can't reach the children, for them to be able to actively play the sport the correct way with the proper form. With this sharing capability, the pros can even get on and produce workouts, training sessions, compete. The kids can log on, follow whomever they would like to based on their favorite player. And those players, through the family community, if their parents are okay with it, of course, and they can thumbs up, great job, keep working, shoot 100 more a day or whatever the case may be. Right, so we allow kids to basically link with all their friends based on parental consent, all their family. Our platform, as you think about it, actually, we built it, we thought it'd be a kids platform, right? IO Kids.
But as we bring in a kid, when they bring in their family and their aunts and uncles and their grandmas, for every kid you got actually like 5 adults. And so we've actually transitioned into more of a mixed audience platform, which brings its own challenges, right? So you have to have all the heightened security and moderation, and but this is what the underlying plumbing, or what I call the electric grid, that can help really ignite this entire industry, because you won't have to worry about privacy and security. We're actually launching it as IO Portal, and our Portal app, I'm going to just quickly show you this. A lot of VTech, they got hacked because they were taking their own data. You don't have to take any data. All of ShotDoctor's app that he's going to show you is actually driven through our platform, so it's a zero data integration, totally social, connected with family and friends. Parents use our app to help manage their kids through the IO Kids interface, but then grandma and grandpa can connect, and now you can have a socially driven connected play product, all driven through the authentication gateway of the IO Portal. So this is the ShotDoctor that allows kids to train, compete, and share.
Yeah, it tells a little bit about their form, how well they're, depending on how many times they can shoot 10 or however many. And there are multiple drills on there for the kids. There's chair drills, wall drills, floor drills, so they don't necessarily need a basket. That's the cool thing about it. Standalone technology in the app allows them to practice at the beach, wherever they want to be. Once they're done, it goes to their phone. Once they hit done on their watch, it goes through, it tells their form, their drills. Go ahead, Krissa.
I can show a demo. You want to show a demo?
Yeah, why not? I think they'd rather see that anyways. Hear me run my mouth.
All right, so what we're going to show is just how this login happens. Again, this could happen for your wearable too, so this definitely applies to you guys. So you'll see the Apple Watch there on the left. You'll see the ShotDoctor app, and if I can get the play on that back and. So you'll see, as he hits unlock, you'll see our portal login. This is where all the users go to log in. They have accounts on our cloud, so we're the secure account. We hold that in the Dynepic cloud. And then since the user logs in, it actually pulls a user-authenticated secure connection and it pulls his friends list in, his account information, interests, who his family is. And now ShotDoctor can drive a completely social and personalized experience. Here he's going to challenge DB to he's going through the other players. If he hits challenge, we can do, using the Dynepic Cloud Lightning database, we can drive real-time gaming, all driven through the platform. So you guys can create your wearable experience, your connected play experience, your toy experience.
And this goes back to, of course, this is for all ages. And now getting kids off the couch and on the court, that's real important to me. But for children that don't want to get out and actually go to a park and play just yet, when they're amateur players and they're beginners, they get a chance to actually get on here and go at it. And it's I think that's special to me because, I love basketball and I can't sleep at night if I've worked with a child or been around kids and I hear about them being discouraged, whether it be a coach or whatever has happened. This is the sports industry and the sports world is really where it's at for the kids and the families, for that social networking. And so this is, and it's again, I love the fact that with the drills, the form and accuracy and showing the improvement in the process and where it goes. It's a very hard sport to play. And again, shooting's the hardest thing to do with it.
That's great. And your stats were pretty impressive there, Coach.
Were they? Well,
he had the highest stats.
I kind of demonstrated some bad shots the other day, so it may have messed me up a little bit. But
there you go.
You got to show the good and the bad, though, right?
Okay, so this is great. A really nice point application with a real purpose to it, leveraging an overall platform. Krissa, what insight does this give us when it comes to when we think about the wearable space? What should the people in the audience sort of think about when they're building their own apps, when they're bringing their own ideas to life? What are the things that you've learned along the way that you want to share with them?
Well, one, we're taking a big focus on active play, and I think there was a lot of discussion here about screenless, getting kids up and moving and interacting with that world. We're hoping that through this secure gateway, you actually have now these toys that they can get up and interact with their world versus interacting with a screen. And I think Wesley does an amazing job with this ShotDoctor application to show how kids can actually compete, leveraging a social network, but it's still healthy, safe. Parents actually could get out there and actually compete with the kid. And I think that this is the future. This is the Internet of Toys. This is the future of the IoT, and what we should focus on is this style of connected play.
That's great. Wesley, what have you learned along the way in your journey in making this a reality?
Tons. All starting, first experience I had understanding numbers was with Harvey Pollack. He's passed away now, but Harvey was the headquarters, the statistical analysis, Superstat was his nickname. He was the guy. We were the headquarters of the NBA. We collected stats throughout the entire NBA, from play-by-play analysis to miscellaneous statistical analysis. It was, every number, every detail, limitations of players, how to guard them, how to force them into bad situations, and then also how to produce training sessions that took them out of that, and it helped them to enhance their career and performance on the floor. And so through that experience, I understood that, going back to my stat book, looking at there were three stats that I remember specifically. It was players that made 3 or more threes a game, teams that made 10 or more threes a game, and teams that, let me do that again. Players that made 3 or more shots a game, teams that made 10 or more threes a game, and teams that shot 20 or more threes a game. So with those stats then, they were all blank. And you go into statistical books nowadays in the NBA and NCAA, and teams are shooting well over 20 threes a game. There are multiple players in that stat sheet that show this player, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, all those guys, Draymond Green, they're making 3 or more threes a game every game almost. James Harden and all these guys now, Kristaps Porzingis, they're all out there stretching the floor, making these outside shots. And so the emphasis that's placed on shooting and where it's going by those numbers I learned from Harvey, and just the hard numbers and writing it down, pencil and paper, and to seeing where it's going now. I mean, I believe that, again, what Krissa said, this is the revolution of sports, technology, and where it's going, and how players can enhance their performance.
And kids are a big part of that, right?
And kids are the biggest part of it. I mean, why do they want to play? They want to be just like I'm from a rural area in Alabama. I had no exposure to sports other than, cows and chicken fields and all that stuff, and I enjoyed playing and did the very best I could with what I had. But I didn't have trainers, I didn't have coaches, and there are families out there that can't afford certain things in private sessions and things like that. This gives them an opportunity to actually use high tech to, be who they want to be and be like the player that, they're following so closely as a role model. And so, that's what I've learned from it. And I just think that by what it's doing with my kids and seeing it personally, it's probably going to put me out of business as a shooting coach, but it's all good. I want them to be better. I want them to be better shooters. I want them to be better players and get as much enjoyment out of basketball as I have through this whole process.
The democratization of training, right?
Correct.
Everybody gets access to it. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm actually learning the guitar. It's been a lifelong dream, right? I got a guitar when I was a kid, and now there's these apps called Musician, and so I can actually learn on my own. And I think the ShotDoctor does a similar thing for kids in the sports training space. So now if they want to be that athlete, I remember shooting when I was a kid, and I could, you could spend hours on the court, but do you know you're actually doing it right? Is it just sinking in the basket? Is that what makes a good shot? No, you got to have the proper form, because that then gives you the accuracy. So yeah.
Well, Michael Jordan said himself, you can practice shooting 8 hours a day, but if you do it the wrong way, all you learn how to do is shoot the wrong way. Get the fundamentals down, and everything else you do takes care of itself. And I don't know if there's anybody else to say it better than Michael himself. So, I'm quoting him. You can look that up. I'm not taking words out of, anyone else's mouth. That's Michael. So.
But I think there's applications in all sports categories,
Correct.
Right? And wearable technology for those. Actually, when we were going through the data, when we were developing the algorithm, you can tell so much actually before that ball comes out of the hand. When you look at the data,
Right.
you can tell whether it's a double-thumbed a shot.
Well, the technology, it's a guide hand wearable, right? It goes on my left hand, but it communicates to the rhythm of the athlete. The body, when you shoot, You stand shoulder width apart, squared stance, your knees, hips, and elbows uncoil together when you shoot. If you're out of rhythm, the ShotDoctor doesn't, it may pick it up, it might not, it might say wrong. So it teaches the body to move a certain way, and it also forces the shooting hand to take control of what it's supposed to do. And so, I got kids after they shoot a little while, and even in, on my website, it says, you need to stretch in between based on, if you're an experienced user or a beginner, and learn how to stretch that forearm out. And, we're coaching in the NBA, and Derek Byers is here with me, out here today. And Derek played at Vanderbilt and Chicago Bulls, Philadelphia 76ers, and he's in the Big Three deal, and now with Ice Cube, and played overseas. So he's got tons of experience in basketball. But I remember working with DB, a phenomenal shooter, still one of the top 3-point shooters in the SEC, record-wise. And but working with those guys, you could look at them in the locker room, and that dominant arm, there'd be veins sticking out of it. But a lot of those guys knew how to shoot the right way. The kids today, they don't understand that the acceleration from their guide hand is actually hindering them from shooting consistently. You see a shot go in, and I tell parents all the time, and it kind of kills me. They want to see their kids score, but just because the ball goes in the hoop doesn't mean it's a good shot. And so it's great to see the boys score, and even kids come back at me and they'll say, "Coach, I had 20 points last game." I said, "Really? How many jump shots you make?" "Oh, we stole the ball a lot, Coach. I made a lot of layups." And I'm like, "Well, that's great, but that's the easiest shot on the floor. It's 2 feet away." I said, when you're beating teams, I even tell my boys, if we're beating teams and they're less skilled maybe than we are, they better not run up that score. Back away, let them get set on defense, execute a little bit, let's knock down some outside shots. Let's prove that we're an all-around team. And, and I think that's also, maybe we don't go but 2 of 10 from the field that game, but I've had a 7th grade team hit 19 threes in a game, which is pretty remarkable. And we ran the other team out of gym, and I didn't really mean to do that. They just were falling. And but it was, it's a lot of fun.
That's great.
Yeah.
We have just a few scant seconds left for any questions. Does anybody have any burning questions to ask?
Yeah, please, anything.
Coach or Krissa? Krissa and the coach? All
Nothing?
right.
No basketball fans? Anybody wants to go ahead?
Can be used for connected toys. Okay.
Oh, sorry. What other applications can the portal be used for?
So IO Portal really can do anything in the connected space. The idea is that we have a secure, connected user profile that knows who your family is and everything, and that data is secured in our cloud. So now, as an IoT company, whether you're smart home, whether you're making a connected toy, a wearable, you can leverage our secure profiles, but you never hold any of that data. So our zero data integration keeps all of the COPPA and GDPR compliance. You're instantly COPPA and GDPR compliant for running that zero data integration, but you're completely social and you're completely personalized. So it's everything you want and none of the hassle or headache.
Have you guys looked into making that compliant on AI side as well, or?
Yeah, so we're actually, IBM is our big partner. So we have IBM Watson, but you can build any AI experience you would like and access our user authentication to drive your AI-based experience.
Thank you.
Hi, I don't know about everyone else, but I think the passion for what you guys have has clearly come through in this panel. Your enthusiasm is crazy, and it's very inspiring. So congrats on this amazing product you've built.
Thank you.
I have a question on distribution. In any kind of great product that has great utility and has a clear identified use case, I'd love to know from a distribution standpoint, how are you getting this in the hands of thousands and hopefully hundreds of thousands of players and students and schools and things. And second to that, I was just thinking, you mentioned you had some connections, like Joaquin Noah and a few others, things like that, and the gentleman over there. I was just thinking, wouldn't it be amazing if you can get this on the wrist of a Joaquin Noah or a Steph Curry or this player here, and have that data come every morning from their device, and they can share that publicly online and tweet, right? Imagine a kid waking up the morning after Steph Curry's last game and he sees the training plan that Steph Curry had the day before that led him to have the performance he had that night, and someone can actually follow that same training plan and just shoot exactly like Steph did to prepare for that game he just had. I mean, that'd be amazing, right?
Absolutely. And I got off the phone Sunday night. I was on the phone for an hour with Chauncey Billups, and Chauncey is a commentator for ESPN. one of the top 10 three-point shooters, I think, in the NBA. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. Chauncey's really interested in getting involved, and that is the strategy, is to make sure, because I worked in the NBA and I coached. I'm not God's gift to basketball. There are guys that have worked and have legacies behind them that really deserve the recognition, and it plays into their personality. And most all players will relate to players differently, younger kids. So absolutely, we wanted to get it on either whether it's licensing or however it's going to be, getting it out there. That's underway. It's but certainly want to do that for everyone out there.
And then you'll see the share capability there. So instead of Twitter, which is not allowed for kids under the age of 13, they use the IO portal
Right.
to be able to share their stats and
Correct.
connect.
What if Steph Curry was sharing his shooting stats?
And that's
Absolutely,
what
on
he'll be able to
IO
do. That's correct. That's what he'll be able to do. So every time he works with it and hits done, it'll go to whoever's following him and whoever's connected. And they can be on Team Curry. There are NBA teams that may want to license it out already, and it goes through their whole team. So somebody wanted to be a Warriors follower, they can work with any player through them.
Great. Well, in the interest of time, we're going to leave the stage. Certainly, they're sticking around. Any VCs or marketeers can feel free to give them all the ideas they want.
Thank
Thanks,
y'all.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.